In today's math talk, we will use mathematicians' language to define 3D shapes. I mentioned earlier that 2D means two-dimensional. D is dimensional. So is 3D. So 3D is three-dimensional shapes. But what exactly is the three-dimensional shape? And what's the difference between 2D and 3D shape? In a real life example, I would like you to take a look at the device that you're watching the lesson right now. If you're using the iPad, take a look at your iPad. If you're using a computer, you can look around, go around your computer, take a look at it. The screen, I can say the screen of your iPad or a computer is a 2D shape because it is a rectangular shape, right? It's where the light's coming from your device. But the iPad or the computer itself, if you look at the object as a whole, it is a 3D shape, okay? Because it has face, it has several faces, and it has depths. Do you get what I mean? So if in Chinese I want to also define or look at the difference between 2D and 3D shapes, I could say that 2D is 平面图形, okay, and 3D is 立体图形. So most of the objects at home, they are 3D shapes because they are 立体的, right? And they can stand. A lot of the objects can stand by itself. So here is a list of the 2D shapes that we learned before and what it will look like when it goes to 3D. And you can find in the 3D shape, you can always find the 2D shape in it, right? It is part of the 3D shape. And when we look at the 2D shape, the names are different from the 3D shapes. So let's take a look at an example. A square has 4 sides, 4 vertices, and it's a closed shape, as we talked about before. And this is a 2D shape. It's like you can make a square out of a paper. When a square goes to 3D, it doesn't call square anymore, it's called a cube. And you can find that cube has 6 faces, one in the front, one in the back that you can't see, one on the top, one on the bottom that you cannot see, one on the right side, and one on the left side that you cannot see, right? So instead of talking about one face right here, every 2D shape only have one face, right? But the 3D shapes can have a lot of faces. So let me actually jot down some notes while I'm talking about those 3D shapes. So I learned that a cube has 6 faces. What else do you notice about a cube? A cube also have sides. But in 3D shape, we don't call them sides, we call them edges because the edges connect the 2 faces. Okay, so can you probably count, because there are sides that you cannot see from this cube, but can you take a closer look at a cube, or if you already downloaded the attachment that I put with the lesson, you can make your own 3D shape out of paper, and after you make them, take a look and see how many edges and vertices you can find from this cube. And I can see that the top, when I look at the top of the cube, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 edges. And then there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the back that we cannot see that connects the bottom face, right? So 4 and 4, and the bottom has 4 edges. So in total, there are 12 edges. of a cube. And then how many vertices do we know? Vertices are still the corners that the edges or sides connect to each other. So on the top, there are 4 vertices. On the bottom of the cube, there are also 4 vertices, and there is a vertex that you cannot see from the back. So 8 vertices. So now you can see that when a 2D shape becomes a 3D shape, the sides or the edges are more, the vertices are more, and then there is a new word, faces, that we can talk about. And if we use a mathematical language or academic language instead of faces, I can say it's called a flat surface. Ooh, I just noticed that I made a mistake spelling the word. Okay, flat surfaces is faces, and it looks like a 2D shape here. Okay, so a circle. A circle is a 2D shape, but when it turns to a 3D shape, it's called a sphere. It's not called a circle anymore because this is like a ball, right? But what features do this 3D shape have? Does it have any flat surfaces? No, right? It doesn't have any flat surfaces because a ball can roll, and if you have a flat surface, it cannot roll. So 0 flat surfaces. 0 flat surface. How about edges? Does a ball or a sphere have edges? It doesn't. 0 edges. How about vertices? Does a ball have corners? No. 0 vertices. Vertex, I would say. Okay. So you can see that a sphere is a very special 3D shape because it doesn't have a surface, it doesn't have an edge, it doesn't have vertex. All right, triangle. This shape is called a triangle. When a triangle becomes a 3D shape, I can find triangle inside a cone. How? Imagine that this is an ice cream cone, right? And then this cone is filled with ice cream. And if I cut the ice cream in half and I make I chop from the top corner all the way down, I can see a triangle there. You can try by making your own cone from the attachments that I sent you, and you can take a look. So now I'm going to give you this task to think about how many flat surface does a cone have, how many edges, how many vertex. Okay, and then we have rectangle. The shape rectangle can turn into a rectangular prism. So this shape looks like a cube, but it's not a cube because not all the edges are of the same length. In the cube, we're looking at all 12 same edges, or edges of the same length. If I can make it more clear, right? But in a rectangular prism, you don't have to have that. You still have 12 edges, but they don't have to have the same length. The vertices are still 8 of them, and then the faces are still 6 of them, right? And here we have a 3D shape cylinder. I want you to take a look at a cylinder and think about, what do you think a cylinder come from? What faces do you see, or what 2D shapes can you see from a cylinder? So that's going to be another thing you can think about for this lesson. And by the way, I need to change the word surface. All right, really nice. So your task today, instead of doing the do you understand task, I made a special do you understand task for us today. I want you to look around at your home and find 3D shapes at home. And absolutely, you can definitely find it. You just need to take a very, very closer look at those objects. Then, after you find the item, I want you to write a sentence to define the item. So I have an example here. So at Miss Chenso's house, I had an IKEA closet, okay, and the closet looks exactly like a rectangular prism. It doesn't have curves, it doesn't have anything special, but it's just like a rectangular prism. So, how do I define this closet? I know the closet is a rectangular prism because it has 12 edges, 8 vertices, and 6 faces. So I want you to use the word edges, vertices, and faces to define every item that you found at home. You only need to look for one item to represent each shape. One item for cube, one item for sphere, one thing for a cone, one thing for a rectangular prism, and one thing for a cylinder. I would say a more challenging thing that you need to find is a cone. It might be a little hard to find a cone shaped item at home, but I believe you can find it. Okay, and also I suggest you to make your own 3D shape from the attachment that I put along with this lesson. So you can make all the shapes on your own and you can take a look at them, count the edges, count the vertices, count the faces.